When you set up DHCP snooping, a binding table is created. Let me show you that binding table. On ASW1 DHCP snooping setup, show IP DHCP snooping binding. In this case, we only have one binding, and that is PC1's MAC address to IP address. It's the only binding we currently have. It's telling us that that device can be reached out interface fast Ethernet 0/1. It is associated with VLAN 10. How can we leverage this binding table now? How can we take advantage of this? Are there any other features that we could utilize that could grab this information and help protect us from different types of spoofing attacks? The answer to that is yes. IP Source Guard. IP Source Guard is a feature that will ensure that no spoofing attacks occur on our IP addressing. So let's say this client's IP address is 10.1.1.10. With IP Source Guard enabled, it ensures that this particular client here cannot use that IP address and pretend to be my legitimate client with the IP address of 10.1.1.10. And it does that by using the DHCP snooping binding table. So if we look at our binding table here, this binding table will make sure that any other device cannot pretend to be PC1 because PC1 is reachable out this interface. The only way it could pretend to be PC1 is if it was connected to this interface. But I already have PC1 there. So that malicious user would have to go there and replace my device. Let's go ahead here and see how IP Source Guard is going to help us out to prevent IP spoofing. It will look at that binding table every time it receives a packet inbound. And it's going to compare the source IP address in that packet. If the source IP address doesn't match the IP address of the binding table for that interface, packet's denied. The packet will be denied. So where do we enable IP Source Guard? We're going to enable it on those untrusted interfaces. So it's relying on DHCP snooping. DHCP snooping has to be enabled. So with DHCP snooping, we have our untrusted interfaces and our trusted interfaces. So you simply enable IP Source Guard on those untrusted interfaces. Now notice here, it said MAC addresses as well. Allows the verification of IP and MAC. And I skipped MAC when I was talking about it because this MAC address feature only works if port security is enabled as well. So if you want to verify based on IP and MAC addresses, you need DHCP snooping enabled plus port security enabled as well on that specific interface. So that way there, the secure MAC address coupled with the IP address in that binding table will be utilized to make sure that both the frame and the packet are from the legitimate source. So preventing spoofing of both the MAC and the IP address.